Episode 5 Feedback Loop. Let's imagine for a second that water is bad. Let's say water isn't too bad, but it's bad enough that they did studies on it. And they said, yeah, water, it takes a lot of minerals out of your body, stuff that, like electrolytes, it doesn't replenish the same way. Say they put out a study about that, and then another group references that study and says, yeah, you know what, that's kind of half and half. But then let's say a group that would benefit from that, like Gatorade, let's say, they pay those guys to say, can you just pick sides that would benefit us a little? We'll pay to publish your articles. We'll advertise them for free. That way you get more views on. Some people might say, that's corrupt. Other people might say, yeah, you know what? I could use the publicity. That'd be sweet. So maybe you got a couple extra articles out there. Enough studies happen in one direction, and you end up with sort of a general ideology. It becomes an accepted thing. Like water isn't as healthy as other stuff could be. And there's stuff that you could drink that'd be much healthier, like juice and Gatorade and things with electrolytes. And over time, if you build enough backing toward that, it educates society in a way where they say, yeah, water is not as good as Gatorade, and we should replace as much as we can with Gatorade. That's why we had breakfast the way that we have it. What was it, like ham and eggs for breakfast? That was never a thing. But we had all this extra, I think it was the bacon supply. We had a bunch of bacon to get rid of. And they were like never incorporating that with breakfast until they started publishing articles on the health benefits of having a big old bacon and egg breakfast. And I want to say it was either eggs or bacon or one of the two. But at some point, they published all this stuff to make it look like it was healthier and it was beneficial. That's the reason we have these big American breakfasts with bacon and eggs and toast and kinds of like fatty grilled food, sausages and all that. I think it was pork, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. But anyways, point being is they published enough backing that that became a generally accepted thing so heavily to where that was the thing in restaurants. You go out for breakfast and everything is, do you want bacon, you want sausage, you want some type of pork food. You get pancakes and they're like, get a side of bacon with it. Just generally what was accepted. And that was never a thing. That was never healthy. It was never a benefit. But it wasn't until they started publishing article after article supporting that idea that it became popular and it caught on. So back to the water thing, if you were to publish enough articles and do the same thing with that, you would end up heading in a path of what the movie Idiocracy showcased. And it was just the idea that people were so heavily backing Gatorade that they replaced everything with Gatorade, and pretty soon the crops couldn't grow because they were trying to water them with Gatorade. Because it was general knowledge that plants love Gatorade better, and the salt content was killing everything off. Great story, but there's something really important and insidious in there, and that's feedback loops. With AI, we're starting to get people sort of like cheaply using AI to publish articles. People are generating entire web pages. They're even generating like fake sources, which is terrifying because now you're having an article that was written that cites its sources at the bottom and it says, here's the 5 sources I referenced. And then those sources could be faked information as well. So you could have a fake study and you could have a fake article based on 5 fake studies. And then at the end of that, you could have this giant medical doctrine that, cites 5 different sources. And if you backtrace it once, you'll find a whole bunch of sources on each of them and it'll look like it's 100% genuine. But it could be something as stupid as, Gatorade is better for plants. And wouldn't really know what the difference is other than the fact that you can test it yourself. That's what's so dangerous is people nowadays don't really have an opportunity to test everything. So if there's a news article that says people that spend 20 hours a day playing video games live a healthier life, other people will just use that as an excuse to say, well, I heard that helps you live longer and live a healthier life because no one's going to fight it if it benefits them. So small articles that aren't like really wild, like aspirin being good for your health. I've never tested it, but I assume because it was before AI that that stuff came out, that that's a relevant statement. But now we're starting to get to where everything is faked so well, and it's faked sources and it's citing faked articles. And then there's other people writing articles based on that faked information. There's people putting out stuff on social media, it's then getting consumed by people, and then it becomes a general consensus. Something that isn't even true is actually true, and people just take it for granted. So those feedback loops are happening right now. One of my biggest worries with AI is that there'll be so many fake articles and so much fake artwork out there in the world that in another 10 years, the AI is going to need to have something to take in, and it's going to have an excessive amount of fake information, fake articles, fake artwork that was made by AI. So pretty soon it's going to be like, well, what does a human hand look like? Forgot the camera's reversed. So it'll look at a human hand and say, okay, well, four fingers and a thumb. But maybe it's going to look at so much of this terrible AI art with seven fingers and it's going to start averaging out. And it's going to be like, well, generally humans have 5 to 6 fingers on each hand. Maybe that'll be the thing it thinks. And then at some point it'll be like, yeah, that's generally how humans are. Humans have 5 to 6 fingers on average. And it's like, we all know it's five, but there are people with four, and there are different deformities and birth defects and mutations and all kinds of things that could change that a little bit. Generally, the DNA states, would typically get four fingers and a thumb. That's my whole point is that I'm wondering if it references enough misinformation, if it's going to start changing its ideologies. If you say it's okay to put pineapple on pizza, and people are very much against pineapple on pizza, if there's enough fake article backing pineapple on pizza, I wonder if AI is going to start changing a little bit and saying it's okay, allowable. And then when people go out to get a pizza and they say, I don't know if I should get pineapple on pizza or if that's inappropriate, the AI is going to mislead them and say, yeah, it's totally good. And that's not a big deal when it's pizza. But when it comes down to ethical boundaries, when it comes down to morality choices, I'm terrified that the AI might start blending together certain things that people generally would not allow, would not stand for, like violence in public. And maybe it'll start saying, oh, that's okay. It's okay a little bit. It's like if I'm at the grocery store, I don't think there should be any domestic violence taking place at the grocery store. What if AI starts seeing TV and starts blending that with reality a little? Starts saying, yeah, it's okay just as long as it's not too violent. And then all of a sudden we start referencing that in court cases and saying, well, it is allowable to an extent. And it blurs the lines there. And I don't know how far AI is going to allow itself to be blurred. And I really don't know. I mean, we've only had AI for a little bit here, so we're not really seeing whether or not it's able to distinguish what is misinformation and whether or not it's able to make decisions for itself. But generally speaking, I do not think it can make decisions for itself at this point. I don't think it's capable of critical thinking. And it's definitely able to like break down a mass amount of information and sort of distill it down to a fact. But I don't think it's able to create multiple iterations and make a moral decision based upon its own values and stuff like that. Because I don't know if an AI understands in its core, like what makes a good world, what makes a beautiful place to live. Like AI just doesn't quite get all that. If you said, "What's the perfect temperature?" Humans would give you different answers. For me, I think I would say like maybe 70, but then I might say, well, 68 is nice because I like wearing a hoodie. So maybe 68 is the perfect temperature. But then you ask somebody in France and they're going to give you the temperature in Celsius. It's like, okay, so people got different ideas for the exact perfect point. Some people like it cold. Some people think about, oh, well, if it was 60 degrees, I could always bundle up. But if it's 80 degrees, I can't take off more layers, so that's too hot. Whereas AI might just average the data and say, this is the middle point without any thought to it. So I'm just curious. I'm curious whether or not it's going to look at old data that it came up with or old data that was referenced from AI in the next 10 years, or whether or not it's going to be able to say, well, here's generally what humanity thought before AI took over everything. Here's a realistic answer based on human only data. And eventually we're going to start, I think, losing touch of that. We're going to start losing touch of what is human data and what is AI data. And that's one of the most beautiful things about this specific podcast that I'm doing is I want to leave this as a checkpoint for where humanity is leaving off. We're starting to be mass replaced by AI. Workers are being replaced by AI. Consultants are being replaced by AI. Artists are being replaced by AI. And I don't think there's anything we can really do to stop it. But I do know that at the very least, we can leave a checkpoint, say, this is where we were, and this is what we thought at this time about everything across the board. And that's really the goal of this podcast moving forward, trying to leave a checkpoint so we can say, here's a point of reference for how things were. But yeah, we're just going to keep moving at the speed of light at this point. There's no slowing down, there's no stopping it. AI is it's moving fast. We're creating data centers, we're taking over entire states, we're replacing electrical grids, we're just doing all kinds of stuff that it's not even being asked. It's not like we all get together and we vote on it as people. It's not like anybody called me up one day and said, "Hey, are you okay with this?" No, nobody asks for permission anymore. This is a non consensual AI takeover, at least of the United States. Eventually, I think it'll be of the world, but we do have an opportunity to leave some breadcrumbs, to leave some ideas, to leave some moral guidance. I'm really hoping that years down the road, AI is going to use stuff like this to reference where those boundaries were. So that way it doesn't get washed away in all the misinformation and AI replication out there. Because feedback loops are devastating and I think it's something we got to watch out for. We'll leave it at that. Till next time.